Hey, what's up, guys? Hazy Ames here. Got a YouTube video, and this one is going to be a review about Final Fantasy XIII. If you followed me at all or catched me on my streams at any point, you'll really know that I do love the Final Fantasy franchise and series. I mean, you can kind of see over here on my games library. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 remake, um, 8 remastered, and 9, 10, 10-2. I still need to play 10 and 10-2. I haven't played the HD remastered, but I have played 10 back when it originally came out. But this video specifically is going to be about Final Fantasy 13. I got a lot I want to talk about. I got a bunch of notes over here because this game was just a bunch of stuff that went on in this game that I kind of want to discuss and talk about. Nothing too crazy, just your typical review. But I do have 65.1 hours in this. Here is the achievement: Witness the Dawn of a New Crystal Legend. Guys, this game was great. It was not so great, but I loved it. It's definitely not my favorite Final Fantasy. It's not my least favorite Final Fantasy. But I think they did a very good job with 13. And if you're a fan of Final Fantasy, I would definitely recommend playing through this one if you haven't. But anyways, without further ado, let's just get right into it. Get into the meat and potatoes of this video. As always, we're going to start off with graphics. Now, guys, I know this game is dated. It came out, well, when did it come out? 2014, I believe it was. Maybe that was when the PC port came out, but I think that's when the actual game came out. For a game that came out in that time range, that time frame, the graphics do look very good. They're very well done. My biggest gripe was some of the early areas were pretty bland and boring, but as you progressed and got further into the game later on, there was some very nice looking zones, just some great zones, very well done by the development team and the artists and everyone involved. The later zones really knocked it out of the park. I loved Eden. I loved Grand Pulse was a very nice zone, and the sub zones that you could go off from Grand Pulse. Grand Pulse was a very fun zone for me because before I had gotten to that zone, it was very linear and kind of boring and bland. And I want to say that was almost like 15 to 20 hours probably that you're just going through a very linear path of different zones and worlds. And sure, there's little offshoot areas that you can go, but it's still like a one path to like leads this way, one path leads this way. Whereas the Grand Pulse area with the Sea Stones was a wide open area, and I loved that. They should have done more of that, less of the 15 to 20 hours of linear boredom, essentially. But they had some great looking zones, had some not so good looking zones as well. For the most part, I did enjoy it. Thought it looked very well. The cutscenes, of course, looked phenomenal, looked amazing, as they should. The reputation of Final Fantasy still is going strong. In every Final Fantasy game that I've played that has had cutscenes, they all look very well done. The summons looked very good per usual. You know, they definitely looked amazing. The artist did very well. I thought it was interesting how the summons were like Transformers. I thought that was pretty cool. I hadn't really seen that in previous Final Fantasy games, and maybe I'm just forgetting or maybe I haven't played that one yet. But yeah, it's really cool how they were like kind of Transformers, and they would transform into like the car or the horse or motorcycle or what have you. It was really kind of cool. I liked what they did with the summons. Spells and abilities looked very nice. You really felt like you were getting more powerful and stronger as you leveled. With the way that the spells were, they were just bigger, brighter, better. than they were, like, say, at like a level 1 fire. But when you did the Fire-Aga, Blizzaga, all that Thundaga, they all looked really well done and really good. I really felt like my characters were getting more powerful as I progressed through the game. And we just have some, I'm just going to have some footage going in the background here of some gameplay. This area here was very well put together. I loved this zone. Unfortunately, you didn't stay in this zone very long in the game. And when I left this zone, I even said to myself, I was like, you know, I wish this zone I would have had more time in this zone because it was so well done. It looked so good. I mean, just seeing it here, like, it looks good. Like, the backdrop looks amazing. You got the waterfall, trees, like grass in the background. It just looks good. Whereas some of the other zones were just boring and bland. There'd be like anything back there. Just be, yeah, it was just disappointing. Anyways, but yeah, so the powers, they really made it feel like you got more powerful when you had spells that you were acquiring as you leveled up. The gameplay, so graphics I gave out of 10. I don't know if I said that earlier. I get rambling and go off on tangents, and I apologize for that. But this game really, I get excited about these games, man, because they are really good. They're very well done, and I don't know, when you get through the story and you beat the game, you're just like, man, like, we made it to the end of our journey. But see, another tangent. Gameplay, 7 out of 10 is what I give gameplay. The first 15 or 20 hours, like I said, were a bit bland, underwhelming, and boring. Felt like they could have summed that up, probably. Even the story elements, they probably could have summed up a little better. Because it was very linear, and the travel in the early game was very linear, like I said earlier. The other thing that it was, I didn't care for, but it didn't bother me a whole lot after I kind of figured out how the game wanted you to play the combat, was you only controlled really one character during battle, and the other two were controlled by AI. As you can kind of see here, this is only a party of 2, but so I am not controlling Saz, I'm controlling Vanille, and that's okay. But after a while, it gets really boring, really repetitive. I wish I really could have controlled all of the characters over, say, one character. I mean, it's not a bad system, but it's not my preferred system, I guess. I like to control all the characters. Combat was very slow and boring after a while. I think I've said the word boring quite a few times. I think that's really where this game struggles, for me at least, is the combat became stale. And so if there was parts like this where I'm just traveling through zones and I know there's not going to be a lot of story elements, I would literally have, you know, like a TV show or a movie or something on my other monitor over here, and, you know, just kind of play, grind out levels. And then when I knew a story moment was going on, I would pause my movie or whatever, focus in, pay attention to the story, and then, you know, kind of go back to what I was doing, unpause my movie, continue on traveling. So yeah, the combat's not my favorite. It's not the worst. I did feel like a lot of enemies and encounters, they were just big sponges. They had, like, their health pools were ridiculous. And I was like, and I even said that while I was playing, I was like, you know, this game would go a lot smoother and it would feel a lot more fluid if these guys weren't just sponges, you know? Like, make them hit harder instead of having more hit points. And then I think that, I don't know, man. Some of the enemies were just, especially at the end of the game, when you got to some of the end game zones, some of the enemies, like, I felt like were boss encounters. I'm like, why is this battle taking so long? And maybe I was doing something wrong. I don't know. But overall, I enjoyed the combat for the most part. Very repetitive, like I said. I mostly used the auto battle command when I figured out, so I would use Libra and then do auto battle, and it worked out for the most part. I mean, I played pretty much 97% of the game with auto battle, and I got through everything on normal, you know. On to music. Of course, guys, it is a Final Fantasy game, so the music is expected to be top tier. I give it an 8 out of 10. It was good. I liked the music. I definitely liked the last piece of music that they played during the end game cutscene and all that was very well done, because there were some lyrics in that as well. I did enjoy that. Thought that was nice. Thought that was good. Thought it fit the it fit everything that was going on at the time. Like I said, top tier music. Some of the music was a bit weird where they placed it, but I feel like that's a pretty common theme in Final Fantasy games. That sometimes I feel like the music doesn't fit with what's going on in the world, and I just think that's a Final Fantasy thing. And maybe it's just a me thing also, you know, kind of like thinking that this doesn't really belong there. It's probably, you know, personal preference as well. But I don't think we should be having like a happy, like tropical theme, you know, when we're like fighting one of these dudes, you know. But maybe that's just, like I said, maybe it's just a me thing. But music, the sound, music, 8 out of 10. Overall, very good music tracks. You know, the spells, the combats, enemies, voice acting, and all that was phenomenal, man. I mean, I didn't have any complaints with any of the voice acting. Thought they did very good with the sounds on the spells, with the sounds in the world, like the waterfalls and explosions and things like that. So yeah, overall, very well done. Like I said, 8 out of 10. Moving on to characters and story. I mean, I'm gonna be honest, I loved Final Fantasy XIII story. I thought they did a very good job with it. You know, they were a good job of keeping you on your toes about what's going on in the world. And they had some nice twists and turns. And there wasn't anything, I would say the twists and turns weren't anything like super groundbreaking or anything like that. But they were done in a way that you still were kind of like, wait, is this guy a bad guy, or what are his true intentions? And they also did a very good job with telling the backstory of all the characters. They would have cutscenes, I think, for pretty much every character, and go back and kind of show like their perspective, or why they're thinking this way or that way, or what really their objective is at that point in time. And what was very interesting to me was that they did a very good job at making these characters kind of feud at the beginning as a group. They're all kind of thrown together unwillingly, but they're all trying to get to the same area or same objective in some sense. And as they progress through the game and learn more about each other and go through their trials and tribulations, they really start to connect together and become like kind of like a brotherhood, a family. And when you get to the end, you really see that they really drive that home. And I love that about this game. It really shows that people thrown together in, you know, tough situations can kind of figure each other out and work together and become the heroes that you need to be at that time and point, and take down the final boss. And I thought they did a very good job of portraying that through the game. And the cutscenes, like I said, helped drive that home. And it was like very well done. And that's, you know, why I give the characters and stories, man, I give that a 8.5 out of 10, you know. And I don't necessarily do that for a whole lot of games. Hold on, I gotta fix something here. Something kind of messed up. Okay, is that how we're doing it? Okay. So yeah. Let's see. What else we got in characters? I think there's a... Oh, the last thing is, like I kind of mentioned, is I feel like Final Fantasy games usually get the story right. That's the number one reason I love playing Final Fantasy games, is every Final Fantasy game I've played to date, I've enjoyed the story. It might not have been my preferred story or, you know, blew me away, but it's always a good, genuine story with good versus evil, and hoping that good triumphs over evil in some way or another. Hold on, I had something about...
dock on the other side of these trees.
Okay. So this is what I had. The end game. I'm gonna skip through that so there's not any spoilers there. The end game boss, I loved and hated, and I don't want to get too much into detail because I don't want to give the fight away. And if you've played it, you probably know what I mean by saying I loved and hated it. But it was very different than any fight that I've had before in a Final Fantasy game. Sure, you could say it was similar to a few others in the series. But I can't remember one that kind of did what they did and the way they did it. And kind of really kept you guessing with like, okay, well, what's next? What's next? What's going on? What's happening? Like, dude, now who do we gotta fight? What do we gotta do? What do we gotta defend? Like, it was very well done. I enjoyed it immensely. Replayability, you know me. If you've seen some of my other reviews, it's a story game. It's gonna go on the shelf, start collecting dust. I'll probably move on to Final Fantasy X. At some point, I don't necessarily want to jump into that right away. Bugs, I think I crashed maybe once or twice in the 60+ hours, and I think one of the crashes was probably on my end because I had some issues with my computer while I was playing through this game. The PC port itself is a bit rough. I mean, it doesn't look too bad, but there are instances where it really kind of... You had some instances of lag. And I don't really know what that was from. I mean, I'm running a 3080 Ti with an i7 12700K, 32 gigs of RAM. So it's not like I got some old system. And I still ran into areas, zones where it was almost kind of laggy or chunky. But for the most part, it played well. Definitely kind of a rough PC port, though. Not the worst port I've seen. Cons, like I said before, very boring, repetitive in combat. The grinding levels is for the birds, guys. I hate grinding levels nowadays, but it is what it is when you play these kind of games. It's just something that you should be prepared for. I know I read some reviews where people switched it to easy when they had to start grinding for levels. I don't blame them, honestly. I just didn't want to do that. I wanted to get through the game on normal difficulty, experience it the way that most people probably experienced it back in the day, but I don't know for sure. Maybe people back then also, got tired of grinding and flipped it on to easy. There's so many games out there these days, these older games. Like, people don't want to put the 60+ hours in, like they want to get through the game, enjoy the story, see the cutscenes, and get on to the next game. But yeah, I mean, that is my thoughts and opinions on Final Fantasy XIII. I think it's a good game, a great game. I know it was kind of controversial, I believe, when it came out. I know there's people that don't like it, but that's with everything, guys. Nobody's gonna like everything. I guess you could say, kind of a Final Fantasy, I don't know, lover, I guess. I really do love the series. So overall, I'd probably give it an 8.5 out of 10, maybe an 8 out of 10, just because it does get kind of stale. But let me know what you think down in the comments. Let me know if you've played Final Fantasy X. Let me know what you thought about the things they did in this Final Fantasy, if you enjoyed them, if you wish they would have done it a different way. Just let me know, like, that's the point of this, is to kind of bring discussion and talk about games, right? This is a video game channel. But it's getting already lengthy, guys. We're almost at 20 minutes. Have a good day or night wherever you're at in the world. Much love, and we will see you on the next one.